whole time thinking that I was still pregnant, no symptoms, no nothing.
For 5 weeks.
For 5 whole weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then I had to wait another almost 2 weeks to have the D&C. So
after finding out that the baby had already been inside of you.
Dead.
Yeah,
for 5 weeks.
For 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a terrible place to be, and I know that I'm not the only one out there that has gone through situations such as this, and there's people that have gone through far more terrible situations like this. But I think Michelle, she approached me about this a while ago, is that there really needs to be more of a conversation. Now that I'm in major state of paranoia, I can't spend an hour alone without Googling the shit out of stuff.
Right.
And I start trying to find forums and try and find anybody out there that has like the same relatable situation as me. And it's so hard to find. Like there's no conversation out there. It's so hard to find.
So you think there needs to be more support systems?
There's no support systems. There's no resources. You're just basically, instructed by the doctors to just go home, wait it out, and hope for the best. And it's just like when you go through all of that, you can't shut your mind off without thinking, what the hell is going on,
Right.
So, do I suggest, having an ultrasound every single day? Well, no, but there definitely needs to be more resources out there. There needs to be more support for women that are going through this, because it's enough to drive anybody crazy.
Well, I mean, if you, especially on top of, you both done podcasts with me individually, so I know a little bit more about you than probably the average person. And you guys can find those on our YouTube channel, by the way. But you deal with high functioning anxiety.
Yes.
So for someone with anxiety to have all these thoughts and paranoia is probably not the most pleasant state to be in.
No.
Yeah. So what do you feel you need right now? Like, you obviously need some support systems, but what do you feel would help?
I think just having a little bit more knowledge or with people that have relatable stories, like something that I can find that I can relate to.
Right.
And I know it's out there, and it's just there's nowhere to find it.
Right.
My particular situation right now is like my HCG numbers were climbing super fast right out the get-go, and everybody started joking, oh, maybe it's twins. And I was following the HCG numbers because that's part of my anxiety, where I start getting obsessive about things. So
Right.
I was going in for blood work every couple of days just to follow these numbers, because nobody else cared about these numbers but me.
Right.
And then the one day the numbers dropped, and I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
And they dropped by 400. I don't know what they are, points or what they're measured in.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways. So then I called the fertility clinic, and they had me come in for an emergency ultrasound that day, and that was at the 5-week mark. And at that point, everything looked intact, everything looked good to go, and they told me to come back the following week. So I've been going back every single week, and it's been progressing. So that's good.
Yeah.
The cardiac movement, they're not entirely happy with, so that's a little cautionary.
Right.
But now when I went back last week, something that they didn't see in any of the other ultrasounds is now I have 2 yolk sacs in the same gestational sac.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah. So that's the possibility of monoamniotic twins or whatever. But they didn't explain this to me.
Okay.
I researched it. Like, wow.
So they just told you
They just said, well, we don't know what that is. That's inconclusive. They love that word. Inconclusive.
Right.
So
you could potentially have twins.
I could, but they only see one fetus in there. So, then I'm searching online and I'm looking at all these different forms, and there's ladies on there that they say, yep, it was one fetus and they went back 2 weeks later and there's 2. Yeah. Or it could be the vanishing twin syndrome, which one didn't make it, but the other yolk sac is there, but it just doesn't make sense. Why would the other yolk sac show up now? Yeah. But anyways, I don't know. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It's like,
right.
I leave that clinic with no information, no support, no resources. I'm stuck to researching this stuff myself because that's what I do. and I have to come up with my own conclusions as to what the hell is going on.
Right.
So, you know, I definitely think that there needs to be a lot of advancements, especially when people are going in there to the fertility clinic. Like, obviously these people are having issues, so they're going home and they're thinking about these things, and they're worried and they're panicked and they're paranoid and they're traumatized and this, that, and the other thing, and you're just leaving them with, oh, it's inconclusive, come back next week.
So they don't really give you any reading material when you leave.
They give you nothing. They didn't even say anything about the 2 yolks, right? They just were like, well, I don't know what that is.
So the solution then, you think, is to kind of build a support system away from the clinic. Is that kind of...
Absolutely, because you're not getting it there.
Yeah.
You're getting strictly clinical stuff. That's it.
And is that kind of what you're planning on doing here? Or
kind of, yeah. I think it's worth looking. I mean, it's a group of people who have gone through this and have different experiences, but still the same kind of experiences.
Right.
So the medical system and the lack of support is definitely a recurring topic amongst all of us.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, you know, how do we start a grassroots sort of support system that's built by women who experience this, so that we can kind of put something together that might have helped us when we were going through it, that would help us now if we're going through it, that kind of thing, and take our knowledge. But yeah, I think it has to be integrated with the medical system as well. So we're kind of looking at a way that, you know, is there a learning component of it, like a teaching component that might work with the medical system to kind of reach out to them and have, you know, like in-services. How to talk to somebody who's going through this, what not to say.
Right. So there's a lack of sensitivity when it comes to having these conversations.
Exactly. You know, so to kind of, even to take it back to their schooling, right? And look at, well, what are GPs taught when they're going through school? Do they even address the emotional state of people who are in the middle of this? Because my thinking is probably likely not.
No, I would have to go with that.
Yeah, you know, and then the bedside manner, and in fertility clinics, sometimes it's private doctors. So, you know, reaching out to them and kind of, and also reaching out to the first floor people, right? So your secretaries, your nurses, the people that get the phone calls of somebody crying on the phone, right? Those people, because they're sometimes the ones that can push a little bit higher up through to the docs and kind of get to them and sort of say, listen, like, we need this service, you know, and we know that, but there's only so much you can do at a grassroots level where you still have to rely on the medical system, and you're left walking out of those offices feeling even more confused and even more scared, right? And that's just so bad.
Well, yeah, and I mean, when you think of the fertility clinic, you think, oh, you know, this is where I'm going to get some help. This is where I'm going to get some support, you know, and the people that walk through those doors, like, they're damaged, like, stuff has happened to them, you know, so, and I really feel that there's such a major lack of empathy. There's just that lack of, I guess, connection with the concept altogether. So, you know, I consider myself a pretty strong chick, that's for sure. I mean, I've gone through hell and back in a handbag, but you know, you got somebody in there who's a fragile egg that's, you know, being spoken to the way that I'm spoken to, or dealt with the way that I'm dealt with, and oh my God, you're going to, like, destroy that person. Right. You know, so I see a major problem. I see a lot of disconnection, for sure.
So for someone that's sort of, I'm right now thinking about someone that's going through this experience for the first time, that doesn't have a lot of experience with loss in their lives, or fighting off cancer, for instance. But someone, this is the first big trauma in their life, being spoken to the way that you've been spoken to by someone, what do you think that would do to that person?
You just makes you feel worthless.
It just crushes them, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, these people, they put, you know, all their hopes and everything into that pregnancy, and, you know, you basically rip that rug right out from underneath them. Yeah. You know, it's not
there's
just a heavy level of insensitivity.
Like, that's the thing. It's not just the medical world. It's people in general.
Well, that too.
Will say really insensitive things. Like, you know, when I went through mine, I had
stay
family
positive.
members. Yes.
Yeah.
Family members, friends, partners.
Do you think those are people that haven't experienced the loss of a miscarriage, though?
Not necessarily.
So people that have even gone through miscarriage might be insensitive.
Yeah. Some people can shut that door, right? It's something that they don't want to deal with it,
right?
You know, because they know that pain. But yeah, you do. You hear things like, you know, oh, you can have another one. or
that seems to be the common one.
It's a huge
It's just
one.
like,
It's a
oh, there's
huge
always
one.
next time.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
You can try again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're not Kleenexes, they're babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't something that's disposable. It's still an impact for us, but it's hard. Like if you were to have, for me, my first pregnancy was the loss of twins, and we were 5.5 months, and it did eventually cause the breakdown of my marriage. But and the lack of support, both from our families and from ourselves. I didn't know how to support him. He didn't know how to support me. He went to work. I curled up in bed and cried myself to sleep for 2 weeks.
Right.
And then got back up and was like, okay, take the advice of everybody, which is basically suck it up and get back out there. Right. You're not allowed to grieve. Because you didn't actually have a baby, right? Stillborn's a little bit different. There's a little bit of a different kind of way that people handle that. It's more of a,
Really?
yeah. Whereas it's not you didn't actually have a baby, you didn't actually produce a baby. So there's a little bit of something different when it's an early pregnancy loss, where you're not actually going through that burial process and you don't actually have a life to sort of mourn or loss.
Right.
So women are just, they're treated, people are well-meaning. I think it's honestly well-meaning, but they say the dumbest shit to you. And it's just like...
No, I know.
People say dumb shit to you when you have cancer too. So
yeah,
I think that people say dumb shit when they just don't know enough about
that's
it.
it. They just don't know what to say.
Yeah, people just say dumb
Say dumb
shit.
shit.
I say dumb shit. It's not that we. Okay, so as a man, if I were to experience this with a woman down the road, what's the best way that I could support her? What kind of support are you looking for?
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about how you're feeling.
Don't push away the feelings. Don't disregard their feelings. It takes a long time to kind of ride it out, and it's not just like, just get back up and go back to work.
Right. How is Jim, if you don't mind me asking, hopefully he doesn't either, but how's he been dealing with? Like, this is 4 for him, right?
It's 4 for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't deal with any of them.
So you're more the emotional...
He just kind of emotionally shuts down. I don't know, for his own protection or whatever, but I'm pretty much,
You're the one who's kind of getting emotional about it.
Well, yeah, and I have to, also deal with the emotions of McKenna on top of that,
Right.
because I have a little girl who's super eager to be a big sister,
Right.
and it breaks my heart
Yeah.
every time I have to tell her.
Yeah. Does she know about this one?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So, another knock on wood and fingers crossed, because I really want this one to happen for you guys. You guys deserve it. So for support systems from a partner and from a man or from a woman or whatever the couple, how do we support one another just by talking about the way that we feel, not giving advice? I mean, because this is a new experience for both the people involved, right? I'm trying to figure out the best way to communicate through this.
I think advice is kind of the wrong word, but I think
Right.
you have to share how you're feeling, each
Right.
of you. And I think, coming from it from the perspective of having gone through it the wrong way and having had it led to divorce, basically.
Yeah.
Stay together through it. Realize that you're both grieving and give yourself that time to grieve, but talk about how you're grieving. Talk about how you're feeling.
Right.
Like, talk about the fact that, I feel like curling up and dying and he feels like going to work forever, or, he's very emotionally cold, and, and talk about that and just kind of try to open that door. Go to couples counseling if you have to.
Yeah.
I really do believe in counseling and therapy to open that conversation, because sometimes you do not have the tools, right, yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just don't. And in these kind of situations, I think seeking outside help is beneficial for both of you to learn how to support each other through this process.
Right.
It's just coping processes.
Yeah.
For sure. And I mean, it kills me every time as well too, because this is his first child. So you feel like you're robbing them of something that should be joyous for them. It should be a wonderful experience, and
Right.
he's having to go through this with the first pregnancy, and I feel the guilt of that, because it's just like I feel that I've robbed him of
not
that,
your
of
fault,
that
though, right?
happiness,
Like,
right?
yeah.
It's not, but that's how she feels.
Yeah.
Right. And there's the thing, right? Is you have to validate those feelings.
Right.
You have to
Right.
understand that those feelings are very real, because once you've experienced a miscarriage, you do experience the feeling of letting everybody down.
Really?
You do internalize that because it's your body.
Yeah.